some background for folks if you haven't been here so far. My name is Corbett Drummy. I'm the VP of Brand Collaborations at Lightrix. I've been focusing a lot on LTX Studio and specifically how brands and businesses can use it. And then my co-host here, Navo.
Hi, I'm Nevo. I'm the community manager for LTX Studio, organizing these kinds of stuff and making sure that you guys have some added value getting out of LTX Studio.
Yeah. And actually today's a really exciting one. In general, these have been getting like a lot of views online, but we wanted to have something special for those joining live. So we'll be presenting some stuff today, including lots of new features. And not all of it is live, and so you'll get a sneak peek. By the way, I see at least someone has a note taker. So when I get to the new stuff, I'll give you a heads up. Please don't record and share because we wanted to show this as a sneak peek for the loyal live viewers. And then we'll be posting this live on YouTube later once the product features actually do release to the public. But to give a quick synopsis of what we're covering today, I'll create a new project today and recap some of the basics. But we wanted to show some features that we released recently in the helping users with the exploratory phase of the creative process. So like art direction and motion design, like generating assets even before you get into the storyboarding phase. And I think that's a big theme of LTX Studio is that we already think it's the best storyboarding tool in the world, but we are investing a lot in tools that give you this power of creative exploration in the beginning of your creative process. A lot of that has come from the community, both users, creators, and brands. They've talked to us how they've been using LTX Studio, and we have been listening for sure. So some of the stuff you'll see is in line with that. So we'll start with some of the exploratory features in the start before launching a new project. And once in the project, we'll show a few things like some motion design tips on how to reduce artifacts in motion. We'll highlight some new things we've developed with actors and training actors with LoRa models, which is really cool and exciting. And as a sneak peek, you'll get to see an actor who is me at 4 years old. um, and then we'll show a little bit around some other tips, but there's a big sneak preview of a large feature we released that we'll touch on at the end. So we'll keep that as a little bit of a surprise till the end. And we'll spend a little bit of time going through it, but it is early in beta and not out yet. So we just want to show you what's coming. And then we'd love to get feedback from the community as they use it. And actually, I'll kick that over to Nevo because we want to talk a little bit about beta testing opportunities with that.
Yeah, so everyone that is here live probably knows that because we announced it on our Discord. So we invited people to become beta testers and try out this feature that we'll present at the end of this. So if you have reacted, we asked people to react the hook emoji. If you've reacted, we might have invited you to a private group and asked you to send us your email and gave some instructions, and then you'll get access. You'll get like a dedicated link with access to this new feature and be able to try it out and then give us some feedback and ideas and some maybe bugs you've even found to help us fix everything and make it better before we actually release it. And it's gonna be pretty soon, I have to say. It's not gonna be as far as I don't want to put out some, concrete timelines, but it is going to be pretty soon. And also, I'm going to take this opportunity to just remind everyone that's here that we have a Q&A section that's right down here below. This is your way to communicate with us during this webinar. You can ask questions, and we'll either type in some answers or take them live, and then just take the opportunity to answer you and maybe show you some examples live. So you can always use that, and we're aware of the questions that you bring up and look after them and everything.
Yeah,
Back to you.
yeah, great way to make it interactive. So as we go through things, please feel free to drop in Q&A questions. Like honestly, if you've been struggling with something from LTX, we want to hear about it. So drop in things that you're struggling with, and maybe we can show a few quick tips and tricks on that. But without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and then walk through a few projects. Looking like, can you all see this? Nevo, is it showing up?
Yeah, yeah, I can
Cool.
see it.
All right. So, like I said, before jumping into before we jump into a new project, I wanted to show a few things that are new. For the folks that are joining, I'm not sure when the last time you've checked out LTX was, but we've been releasing a lot of things, some big, some little. So I'm not even sure how much people are familiar with these more ways to create. So I'll zoom in on these a little bit. Starting off with image generation. So most people probably started with LTX in the past, starting from scratch or starting with a concept and making a storyboard. But we found that people want to explore like art direction even before that sometimes. Like they want to get inspired with visual styles. So here, if you do generate images, you drop into this image playground where you can create new styles of images. And by typing anything here, you can quickly map out different viewpoints of something. So I don't know, a church with sunlight streaming through the windows. You can type anything, and it's both really quick to explore concepts, but it will also give you a little bit more variety. So if you were doing a single shot on LTX Studio, you might just be regenerating the seeds a lot. And this way, you can play around with it better. So I could say like an old I don't even know how to spell dilapidated, dilapidated. Uh, so you can type out stuff. Like I can keep editing my prompt, playing around with it. I might say like with green vines growing inside. Anyways, you can use this as like a very quick way to so now it's more broken down. I can keep scrolling through and getting these concepts and explore them, and it's very rapid, and it should give you more entry points to an art direction that you had in mind. It should help you quickly see different permutations. Yeah, go ahead, Navon.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that this something that we've added to it. If you haven't used image workspace in the past few days, then you should try it out again now because we have actually updated it, and now the six variations you see are much more different and more like the images that are produced are from different angles or a bit of different details that they have. So each one is supposed to be a different variation of the same kind of concept. So you should try it out and see. And then if you hover above one of the images, you can choose to expand. Are you going to talk about it, Corbett? Am I
Yep, no,
disrupting?
this is the perfect time, exactly what I was going to do. So,
Oh,
as
go
Navon
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, like I both said, a key part is that we're giving more variety. So you can see here, it's not just the same thing. Like this is very different than this. But when you do want something, there's a two new buttons we added, directly adding motion here, and then more like this. I love the more like this option because I think yeah, Navo and I would both agree that like what's been nice about this is you can cover a broader swath of creative styles, and then you can zoom in on a specific style. So let's say, for example, that again, I'm going to do one more. I did this one with him in space. But let's just say that you narrow in on a visual design that you like. You can use that prompt to like narrow in and refine that vertical of art direction that you're interested in. And so hopefully this gives you tools to cover a broad swath first and then zoom in on the options after.
Yeah, it's kind of like exploring photos and images in Google. You know how
Mhm.
you kind of pick one and then it gives you like a sub menu of more variations of that are kind of more like the photo that you've chosen. So it kind of expands the specific image in a bit more variation. So you can kind of explore like um and try to and then try to reach into a specific image that you are trying to focus on or inspiration that you are looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, hopefully get a sense just from the few. It's funny every time I go to prompt something live, like my mind goes blank, ironically. But this it really helps you. I think you can lean on the like computer here. The AI tools we built as like a co-pilot because often it will have some happy accidents, and we've intentionally driven that variety to like make it easier to explore creative things. So let's say you have that. Like we've narrowed down like what we wanted. There's a visual design we love. Maybe I love this one. Once you want to bring that into motion design from this, you can easily now use this button here, add motion, and it'll pop it over to the other entry point we had showed before, which is yeah, the motion configuration workspace. So here it's the same tools you're familiar with. So for example, the Spaceman shoots his laser gun. So you can add motion, change the length. Again, we've talked about this before, but the start and end frames are really powerful for driving the exact motion you want. But you can use a combination of keyframes, motion prompting, motion settings, and these other things like camera control. But these should be largely familiar to you, because these are what you see normally when you're in the LTX storyboarding section. Most people are familiar with. Yeah. Um, So basically, what we've done here is you can pull in things really easily and start creating your asset library, basically. And so I wanted to show that as a way to explore concepts before we end up making the next one. So I'll do one more thing, which is the project I'll create. I'm going to make a really, really simple prompt about, let's say, a kid is on a field trip. He goes to the Field Museum in Chicago and sees the dinosaur skeletons there, the famous ones there, and then falls asleep on a bench there. And then when he wakes up, or in his dream, the dinosaur has come to life. So sometimes people, when they explore concepts there, they want to kind of see, what this all would look like. So for example, maybe the first part's easier, like the Field Museum in Chicago. That's kind of just like an actual location. But maybe I want like to design the dream world, like a dinosaur in a dream world. So here's my realistic field museum. Um, Funny, I love the zoom in of one tooth on that, like really giving that variety. So maybe I want to design like what the dream world looks like, because honestly, I have no idea yet. I'm thinking something cartoonish, but I would like to be inspired. So, maybe I want I'll say like an illustrated dinosaur in a dream world. So I can use this to rapidly iterate because I know my realism shots that I want, but I want my like kind of art direction for my dino world. So I like some of these,
And this
but
isn't the first time you're using dinosaurs, Corbett. And if people here
yeah,
haven't watched your previous take, I recommend you to see how Corbett kind of broke down a video we made for dinosaurs kind of ruling the world.
yeah. I actually might make a speaking of, that's a good art direction. I'll go for that, but I actually might pop up in that as an Easter egg at the end when I show some new features. I'll pop back into that project and edit the old
Oh,
one.
cool.
Let's
That's
do that.
cool.
Let's do that. Let's 1950s style. I don't know how that'll work for illustration, but let's just see what happens. So we'll go retro for this.
And
It's not
also, I just want to remind you that you do have also the style tab that you can use for
correct.
editing the style really fast as well. Just it's like you can use either.
Great point, actually, because here's another one that we wanted to mention. You might notice some new styles here. So before, when we first started LTX, there was a bunch, and then we've edited them down a little bit. And then you might notice a couple of new styles depending on when you last used the platform. So there are some new things to play around with in like the default style category. So there's some big things we're releasing, but we're constantly tweaking the little things. Another one I want to show you later is in like the sound design part. Now that's pretty cool. Maybe it's too
Yeah,
illustrated. It's too illustrated,
I
perhaps.
like it.
Yeah, but
By the way, the new styles aren't yet updated in the storyboard
yeah.
section. So just FYI, everyone.
hmm So we're playing around with a few things here, but um, I'll do one last thing because I want to show. I might do just one last type of. Let's see. Let's do 3D cartoon. So I'm just gonna make one more reference, and these you're kind of building up your media library. These will stay here. They're where the idea here is having like a global workspace, so it's not tied to a certain project. But anyway, so we've explored some concepts. I got inspired, and then here I want to create a new project. So you all are familiar with this. You can drop in a script. You can develop the concept like a copilot with AI. You can also start from scratch. And for speed, I'm not going to start from scratch. I just want some help, so I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to put in a really simple prompt. A kid goes to the Field Museum in Chicago on a field trip for school. Um, while there, he falls asleep on a bench and dreams that the dinosaurs all came to life. Cool. We're just gonna make a short film. I'm not gonna mess around with the special requests or the different formats you can do here. I'm just making a short film. If you need some inspiration, there's examples here. And honestly, one of my favorite things is how well LTX Studio like understands what you're going for. And so you can edit in the beginning the synopsis, the breakdown of shots and scenes, but I find it pretty accurate most of the time. So we'll just accept some of the defaults, but if you did want to change it, you can explore new ideas here. I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar with that. So we're starting here, and it's gotten most of my ideas here. So they're all similar. I'm gonna do. Oh, I kind of like this a little bit more drama in this one. We'll do this one. He has to like find an egg and return to a nest. There's like some side quests, so we'll do this one. That's fun. So this will break down into the settings and cast. I do want to zoom in on training actors with our new lore model training, but I'm gonna do that later. I just want to get into the core storyboard first. So real OGs of LTX Studio would know that LTX Studio loves making Thompson your last name. As a reminder, you can get a lot more variety when you do the actors, which I'll show you, and you can get like really realistic looking characters instead of like default looking ones. And I think AI by a default often will get you default results, but there's a lot of tools we have to push things in new creative territories. So we'll show you these. Cool. And then yeah, Rebecca, we got a question about thanks for a question about can you take one of the images from the image generator and download it and upload it to your video project after you've set up the scripting and casting. Towards the end, I'll actually show in a new feature we released, pulling in an asset from your media library and like plopping that into your project. So I will touch on that, but that is a key theme. Like you're getting towards where we want to provide you kind of a global asset repository that you can draw from and draft on when you're creating your projects. Cool. So I'm going to click start. And let's see what it gives us. One first thing I'll cover when it does kick out the project is you might notice when you use this. So here's the breakdown. Again, I could edit these, but I saw the synopsis. It's cool. So we'll just do that. But you might notice it almost like over selects the shots that are required. So I've talked about this before, but one of the first things I do is I go through the shot selection and I just remove things that I think are duplicative because I honestly think you need fewer shots than it will give you. It kind of is giving you that optionality, but you can go through and cull them down and take the kind of overabundance of shots for each scene it gives you, and then select and curate the ones that you really want to focus on. So here you can see it loading. I'm going to zoom out just to show you what I mean. It'll give you a lot of shots, right? And you can see how fast it's generating those clips. But what I do is, honestly, I go through it and, I think that it got my overall scene correctly, which is at first my character's in the field museum here, and then later he's in this dream world, and then pops back into the real world. So it got my synopsis, but honestly, I don't need this many scenes. So what I do is I go through and I try to like trim it down and crop it a little bit. Going through here, it looks like we have, some good establishing shots um, of my character, of the scene. I don't need that many. I'm just going to delete this one. I guess we'll do one or two more of him walking around. But at that point, I kind of get the idea, and I don't need that many more. So we'll introduce him. Maybe he's looking tired here. I'll just say he's yawning. Yawns as he's tired, and then he spots this bench. So you can add shots you want. You can customize them. I'm gonna redo the bench. I want kind of just like I might type in like wooden bench or something. I'm gonna delete this extra one. I don't really need that. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of crafting my shot selection, and I'm going to do one or two more deletes here. And towards the end, I want to do two things, which is I kind of like this sunlight reflecting off the polished floor. And I'm going to add in one more shot that's kind of like the transition to the dream world, which is like, I don't know, the sunlight streaming through the windows gets brighter and brighter. And I'll make this my kind of like transition into the dream world as the light just gets so bright that it kind of is a transitory shot for us. So I've started to call it down. I need to just get that one last shot though of um Alex moving towards the bench and laying down on the bench. So I'll zoom in. I might actually use composition tool since it's not getting that right off the bat. But you can see here, so what we've done is we've, gotten some initial shots of the place. We've established my character, the scene, him walking around. I'll have him yawning. He'll see the bench. Um, and then we'll have Alex sitting down on the soft bench. What it sits soft fabric bench, sitting down the. And so, we're developing our story here. So far, so good. But I want to show a few things. So we, what I can do is I want to show a few things about getting good artifact-free animation is one. I want to walk through composition tool because we've showed it before, but it's really powerful. So I want to show you like how I've been using it. And then we'll talk about casting characters, like training an actor. But Innova, anything you want me to touch on before I start getting into those?
No, I think you're good.
Okay, cool. So, and then last thing, actually, since I didn't do it, let's look at what the dream world looks like. So after the sun really blares, he wakes up in the dream world, and we'll have a few shots of that so I can get there too. I don't need too many. I'll delete that. Um, cool. Probably a little too many here too. So I'll do this scene next. But so we got most of the story, and then you can see at the bottom, it looks like he's an adventurer having to return an egg, and then eventually he comes back into the world. So we'll massage that as well. Overall, I just want to show a project for the context of the tools I want to show you. If you do want to see going from start to finish, as Naveau said, I would check out our old Dino movie where dinos take over the world, 1950 style, where we kind of show from start to end like a cohesive project. This one, we just want to show off some features. So here, pretty good motion. That's actually par for the course with establishing shots. The light camera motion always works pretty well. And here, again, light motion, not really an issue. Let's wait till we get some artifacts. Not too bad there. It's a little bit with the crowd movement. If we had more intense motion, like if he was running, I could say running through the exhibit area. More intense motion often breeds more artifacts. Let's see. Like I don't really love the yawning there either. So if I'm trying to get, I'll use these two as an example. So if I'm trying to get artifact-free motion, here's a few tools. So let's first generate this one. Let's see. Let's generate this one. Okay. So you can see I was redoing the seed prompts there to try to get like a seed prompt. And then now I'll work on the motion design. So here, actually that's pretty good. His eyes are a little weird. So I'm still going to redo it. So a few tips though, if you are getting motion issues, one quick tip is to try adjusting the clip length down. So for example, think about yourself as a director. Instead of showing one long shot, often today, movies will break them up into interesting shots to keep the audience's attention. But it's also really important with AI because you want to keep the narrative quality high by reducing artifacts. So I might have a piece of action for 3 seconds and then a close-up of the character for another 3 seconds instead of a 6-second clip. That way, it's more interesting visually and also reduces the chance that you might have motion decay. So try adjusting the length. You can play with the intensity. Like maybe I want him running fast. What's my character's name? Alex. So maybe I want him running faster. Um, but
This
you,
is by the way, this is a good point that you are raising because also for the yawning in the next, I think, frame that you did, when you describe an action that you want to show in movement, then it's better to put it inside the motion prompt, and then it will do the action that you want to have. And I'm also gonna take this opportunity to just answer Rebecca that asked if you can go back to the script and add another section. Unfortunately, you can't, but you can add more scenes within the storyboard and then adjust and add some more parts to the story.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Often, let me show you real quick. So if you want to add a new scene, like let's say we want to add something even before this, like the school bus coming, I would do this. I would make a new location. So I would do outside of the Field Museum in Chicago, and I'd create this location. You can enhance it, like it enhanced it here. Um, but I would simply do something like, yellow school bus drives up to the entrance of the Field Museum. And then I would do something like Alex gets off of the school bus. And I'd do something like a close up of this. And so here you can see, you can start to, if you want to add that other scene, you can quickly draft it, and you can put it anywhere. You can put it in, you can put shots in between. Um, you can put scenes in between other scenes. So you really have a lot of flexibility to craft the story even after you've initiated the project. Um, so I might do an extreme close up actually. So here we've got like the establishing shot. And actually I kind of like that. I kind of like the school bus starting, pulling up before people get going in the museum. Gives us a little bit of context. Feels like we're going with them. There we go. So and I might do another one where he's walking off the bus. So going back to what Naveau said, so in the motion editor, sometimes you might have seen with people's hands, the motion can get messed up. So I use this one because it's like hand motion, which is normally hard. It actually did pretty well here, but if it didn't, you can quickly generate new attempts, like 4 new quick, fast-playing animated GIFs. And then one final thing is that when you're trying to get motion to work, also pay attention to the start and end frame. And so what you can do, for example, is if you're only changing something, if you want something very specific to change, like I'm trying to think of an example. Uh, Here, um, a close up of a stoplight. Like if you want just like a color on a stoplight to change or something, you can copy the exact start and end frame, use the in-painting tools, and control the motion that way. So this is perfect actually. Let's go to actually motion editor. Let's do copy the start frame, and then I would simply do something like this. I would do tools, generative fill, and I would say, I didn't do that the best with the tool, but green light. So if you want to control motion, oops, sorry, 1 second. My Zoom box was covering the buttons. So I did the generative fill up here, and then to the other side is generative remove. And I've found, so we got the green light there. I actually don't know. Let me try this. It will probably work. Let me just say, um, if I just remove it, I don't know if that will actually work because it's a light. Let me try that though. Kind of good enough. So anyways, so I could say the stoplight goes, I would probably just use fill and say black or something, like a reflective black glass. That's probably what I do. But I'd say the stoplight goes from red to green. And this way we have the start frame, the end frame, and I remember I just copied it over. So for motion where you just want something very specific to change, copying the start frame and end frame is good. You can also take the shot and adjust a little bit of the camera so you still have some scene motion. So when you're copying the start and end frame, so here, yeah, we have the lights changing, and again, these are fast playing animated GIFs. But I could also take this and, like I could adjust my camera frame and upload a screenshot of like a different angle so the light's changing while the camera's panning. So your end frame doesn't have to be exactly the same. It can be slightly different, and it'll animate the scene also, um, in addition to the start and stop frame. So that's a good tip on like exact motion. As Naveau said, if you are struggling with something like, let's see how he's getting off the bus. Like maybe I want him walking, his hand messed up there, you can see, and I want him walking off the bus. I could say, walking, off of the bus. And as Naveau said, we can go to the motion editor and change that movement here.
I think like a cool example would be instead of doing a prompt of this of Alex yawning, you could have just done like a close up or just Alex appears in the museum and then use the face expression feature
Oh yeah.
and adapt his face into looking like he's yawning.
Yeah.
And then in the prompt, in the motion prompt, you could have like done the yawning part.
Yeah. So I could say here, close up of Alex. I'm being pretty lazy with this, but just an extreme close up. And then once this loads, as Nivo said, I'll use the it's funny, there's often like several ways to achieve what you want to do,
Yeah.
and you have to play around with what works best. But yeah, these are just some things you can try with motion design. So whether you're changing like something concrete in the shot or simple, maybe it's motion. Let me just do not quite that far. Let's do like a Pixar level close up.
Creepy, yeah.
Yeah. So after this, I will show you a few things I want to talk. We were talking a little bit about motion design. Feel free to drop something in the chat if you want us to keep going on that. But to make use of our time, I want to show you the actors next, a few things on sound, and then a big new feature at the end that we worked on, which is I think the coolest one. So here, for example, as Novo said, we can just go into here, go to face expressions, and I might use these things. Like I could do them custom here, but just for quickness' sake, I could just change his emotion here. And so I can like kind of design quote unquote his expression, using these and make him yawn, make that be um, uh, one of the end frames of the motion, and then just type that in the motion design what I want him to do.
And if that doesn't work, you can duplicate the same frame as a shot and do the before and after of the yawn, like before he starts to yawn, after he starts to yawn, and then do a keyframe control, which also works. So you have a lot of different ways to kind of solve or work around AI's faults.
Or I sorry, I changed the text here, but I'll undo it. What I could do is so let me undo this when it does that. 1 second. Well, that actually is not bad, but I could go like this and then use the expression. I could change the expression here, and then use those as the start and end frames. So as Novo said here,
Download the image, then upload to the second keyframe. Yeah.
yeah, so then we can download it here and use that as a second keyframe. So a few notes just to use the time wisely. Some big things we've released that I want to talk about is under the cast section, we use the default characters here, and they feel a little bit AI. And if we want to add characters, you can create them this way using your appearance to describe them, but you can also train them. So when you train them, you can train from photos or from a prompt soon, but from photos, you need at least 5. And pay attention to these things because if there's artifacts in the shot, it does manifest when you're tagging the character. So for example, if I'm holding a prop in one of them, when you create the character, it'll like kind of it'll overly have them having that thing when you're prompting them. So as much as possible, try to have the character have like clean shots. A funny thing that I noticed is when I uploaded my own of myself, I found that actually, Neville, I don't know if you can see this part of my screen, can you? No. Um, so
No.
I'll upload them here. So I uploaded old photos of myself as a little kid, and they're poor quality photos because they're older photos and probably photo of a photo. And I had to zoom in on my face because if I had like toys or whatever, if I generated that character, it would honestly have that toy too often in the shot or whatever. So be careful of like what you're really uploading. And here, they're not all, they're kind of me at slightly different ages. I don't really have that many photos of myself when I was a kid.
You're very cute, Corbett. You were a very cute boy.
Thank you. I was, so when I click
No,
train,
young. No, now you're
actually.
all grown up. It's different.
So when I created this, I already made one because it does take a long time. I want to point out, like this is training like a mini model basically. So I did it already just so it didn't waste people's time on the webinar. And this is not default. I actually just was testing that out, so we'll delete Ben. Or I'll leave him there for now. But let's delete him. Let's don't want to get in trouble there. So for these are default characters we've trained for you to test out the features. So I'll bring in like baby Corbett, also Vanessa as 2 characters. But you can already see like some of the characters here, they'll have more heft to them as characters and actors in your shots, where there's just a lot more like realism to when you put them in the scenarios in the shot. So for example, let's just call Vanessa into the shot. Oh, let me add them here. So in cast, I'm going to add 2 people. You can do the create actor flow here, but you can see it's loading my new one there. I'm gonna do Vanessa. Um, you can name her whatever, but I'll just say yeah, I'll say Maggie, like the default it says there. You can change the clothes here, so I could say like green dress or something. So you can still change the character's clothes and adjust a lot of things, their characteristics, but it's relying on the photos you uploaded to understand like when you tag them, it's not drafting off of the main video model. It's really just drafting off of that mini model of the character whenever you tag this character. So that's driving the results here. But I can like put, different clothes or whatever on the characters and change their appearance still with text. So now we have Vanessa in a green dress. Maybe I want Vanessa in jeans. I'll say jeans and a white t-shirt because, it's not formal wear. This is a field trip. So we're just gonna put her in jeans and a t-shirt. So I'll create this character. I'll let it load. And by the way, if you click enhance, it'll add like a lot more prompts to it. I'm keeping this like super basic, but you can lean on the platform to enhance your prompting too.
By the way, what the actors is training on is mostly like the face and kind of body figure, but it doesn't catch clothes or anything like that. And while this is loading, I'll also add that we're using like LoRa technology. It's kind of fine-tuning a model. So we have our own model. If you haven't known up until now, we have integrated our own model called LTX and we actually added a distilled version that is 30 times faster than the original one, which was already fast. So we have fine-tuned, meaning we are giving you the option to kind of fine-tune, train, and fine-tune, adapt the model into helping you achieve better results for specific things like doing character consistency with this actor's feature. And I also want to add another tip. I know we said at least 5 images, but I would recommend going 12 and above, like as many images from very different, varying angles, facial features, smiling, sad, any type of angle that you have for the actor that you want to highlight and become and give it another chance to become more realistic, then add to it. It will only help.
So I do want to point out, so I used old photos. You could probably see it. It like I look more like a real person here. The quality is like slightly not as good because you can see like Vanessa was at had higher res photos training her, but it still looks more real than the kind of AI created character. So yeah, I would use like more photos as you can, real photos. As Naveau said, I'm kind of doing the worst here. I wanted to use myself for like copyright reasons because I own my own IP. But ideally, you're using more than five, like a dozen photos, and you're using high quality ones. I was using these low quality crops of my head cropped out of family photos, so it's not the best result. It's just one that
Can
I know
you
how to use.
Can
Yeah,
you zoom back into one of the
yeah,
actors?
right there.
Not
Yeah.
this one. Yeah, this one. We just had a question from Twisted Light asking where can you upload a new face or face
Oh,
replacement. So if you
yeah.
hover above this, you see face switch.
Mhm.
This is how you can upload a face photo and then it will change. I do recommend that you use the actors features if you have enough photos instead, just because the LoRa that we've set up for it is much more reliable and will give you much better results. But this is
Yeah.
how you.
Yeah, it's also like you're uploading a single shot, and also I don't have a great photo because all the photos I have weird backgrounds, but it's like a single shot one, whereas this it's training a model. Um, you're kind of just like smashing the face into the existing character here, but in this one you're actually training a new mini model on the character, so it's pretty cool. So let's do this. Actually, I kind of want to undo that so I don't mess. Well, whatever, I'll let it load. So it'll be changing my characters obviously, so you can see here it's changing all the stuff with Alex in it. An important tip, that's what I wanted to say. Um, Before you do motion design, if you're editing characters or editing styles, that will change your motion. So I personally do motion design last. I wanted to show you some tips because we've gotten comments from people about how to do more artifact-free motion, but do that last. And it kind of resembles normal production processes around, art direction and exploring the concept. You can start with like even scribbles, at first. Like you can start with more like um, animatic or storyboarding styles if you want to get like a plot down. But then over time, you're then focusing on things like the sound design, the animation, but yeah, do characters in the global settings first because if you change any of these global settings like style, cast, that will change the animation and motion design. Let's show you how well the characters show up though. I'm gonna go back to um this one, and then I'm gonna add my character here. So I'll just say, um Corbett. Wait, what did I call myself? Did I put my character here? One second. Thomas Miller. Yeah, I guess my name's Thomas now. Let's see. Okay, so at Thomas walks down the museum hallway. So I wanted to point out the lower models, they do a much better job at everything from the character as well as even like I found like the clothes and stuff you put on them. But as you notice, like since I only gave it 5 photos, and those 5 photos, if you remember, were like me at different ages and like kind of pretty retro camera quality, it will like kind of it's having a hard time of understanding my like yeah, my age, I guess, in this. Because I gave it ones from like age 4 to age 8 or more. But you can see it's got my clothes, it's got my face and likeness, and more importantly, if we do it with one with like better training data, let's try Vanessa. Or what I said, Maggie, yeah. So Maggie holding a clipboard, but it's still got me, and it's funny because that's actually what I looked like as a kid. So it's scarily accurate. It's kind of weird seeing yourself in a movie. You should try it. So let's do more of like a wide shot so you can see here.
I'm just gonna ask Dylan to re-ask his question about locking a whole scene. If you can just explain what you're meaning by lock to help us answer you. Um, Corbett, when you have a chance, also someone asked for a 2D sketch character slash animation example, um, which can be cool.
Uh,
Um,
you mean doing that, like changing this to
I
that? What do you
think
mean?
Daniel, I think you asked if you can do like a specific character, like style in like which isn't the same if you're referring to a style that is different from the entire story, then you can't do it. You can only provide like make the character fit the actual scenes and shots style. So everything is coherent. You can't do a different style for a character than the actual shot. But if you're referring to a specific shot or scene, then it's what Corbett is now has now shown you.
Yeah,
And
the lock thing, if that you're referencing, you can lock frames so that they're not changed. So let me show that real quick. If I lock this one and change the style to, scribble, it won't change the one I locked. You can see the lock here. If you wanted to, maybe they were asking if you can lock a whole
oh,
scene.
okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. For now, you can't.
Yeah.
Let us know on our Discord in the feedback channel if you think this is something we should add.
By the way I do that though, that maybe it's worth saying that when changing a style, notice that if I zoom out, I have different styles for these. So I changed just the style for this scene. So I locked this frame and I changed the style for everything else. But the rest of the ones are quote unquote default locked if you only change the style in one scene. So I guess the point is you can change the style globally here and lock individual frames. You can change the style just from a scene and lock individual frames. But maybe you're asking like, hey, I have like 10 scenes and I just want to lock one of them. Unfortunately, you'd have to do it one at a time right now.
And thanks for the feedback about locking the scene. David, or actually David, because you were talking about Spanish integration. So yeah, we have integrated our language model. So if you type in on the dialogue or voiceover something in Spanish, it will actually understand then add a voice to it so you can use it. But we aren't planning on having like a Spanish complete version of the website. We just support Spanish language. So I hope that answers your question.
Actually, speaking of, I meant to mention this. I don't know when the last time people use the platform is, but from narration and character voice, there are more options. If you haven't used it in a while, check that out. There's a lot more options than there were even like, I don't know, a month ago or something. But probably when our last one was. So lots of new options here. Quick note, if you do multiple things, if you play this,
Sweetheart, you've got everything.
you have to
Hi there.
pause it because you can play multiple at a time. So click it
Honestly, man, he
and
talks.
then pause it before going to the next one because they'll play over each other. But there's so many options. Yeah.
Corbett, we have like a preview question. Nori asking, does the preview shorten all the clips? And the most important question, how do I adjust the length of the whole project? I think this kind of also brings us to the next question, doesn't it?
It does. It
To
does.
the
It's almost
subject.
like I swear we didn't plant that question, but this is the one of the main things we want to show you all. I'm actually going to stop sharing because it's not live yet, and I want to toggle into this mode. But for our project, you can enter into a timeline view. So here is our project, and I've entered into a timeline view. And what this lets you do is edit the project in a holistic sense where you can see the motion lined up with audio, dialogue, etc. And I did want to spend the rest of the time in here, so it's a great question. And this way you can use it to, let me move, I'm sorry, my Zoom thing's covering, let me move this. You can use it to trim clips, you can import other assets. Honestly, even I want to show a few things around sound. And so what I'll do is I'll enter into here and then you can, I want to show pulling in some assets from the media library as well as pulling in some stuff we generated even in the beginning. So first off, you might, recognize this just intuitively as a timeline editor. So if you want to truncate a clip, you can do that here. Note that when you make a change, it unlinks it from the storyboard and you can sync these changes later. But if you notice here, it gives you fine-grained control, which I think is really important because right now, most AI video providers only let you do things in like 3, 5, 7 seconds. And with this, you can get that specificity that you couldn't otherwise. Note that also, you can probably see there's the sound down here too. And so you can even add in voiceover and sound and see how that aligns up. So you can say like, a funny thing happened in the museum today, and we'll just make a narration voice here. And I'm going to insert this clip in here, and so you can see where that would all map out. So
A funny thing happened in the museum today.
but this is my favorite part is like you can mix and master all this stuff here. So I'm going to draw down the volume of that. I'm going to go to the sound. I realize we didn't even pick a sound, but you can edit. So I'll say like whimsical, adventurous. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oops. Let's see what we got. No, not that.
Corbett, I don't think you are sharing sound. So
let me
I'm
do
also
that.
going to take this opportunity to mention that, as Corbett said, this is an unreleased new feature that is going to be released really soon, but we're still examining and testing it out. And if you want to be a part of the beta testing of this, please send us on the Q&A section now your Discord handle. Yeah, it's shared now. Your Discord handle and your email, the email that you use to register to LTX Studio. This way we will add you to the Discord channel that is dedicated for beta testers and also add your email to the permissions of having access to this feature. So if you want to join us on this beta adventure of releasing the timeline soon, just type in on the questions. No one will see that. We won't post it. We won't use it in the public channel. We'll be the only ones who sees that. So just type in your Discord handle and the email you use for registering into LTX Studio, and we'll make sure to add you to the beta testing. Sorry.
Good. So I don't want to spend too much time, but I want to point out a few things. So first off, you can use this to type any keyword, of course, and pick a song. Like let's see. No. Let's just say you can pick something, so you can spend some time like going through here, but also you can import something. So if you had something from like Suno, Udio, or Udio, you can pull those songs in this to show. So here you can mix and master. So for example, you see the first one here, second one here. You can drag these, you can line them up. So I really have a lot of power to kind of mix and master. And I know a lot of people really were wondering about this, how to like have these tools for transitioning sound, etc. So you have that here. And it's not only the sound, but it's also the narration, which I didn't put much into the project. But you can edit the sound here, the volume. You can take the voiceover, like I said, and you can plop that in anywhere, and you can control like where this is showing up. So it gives you that kind of editor mastering ability to play them all together. So let me cut back actually to the beginning, and then I didn't spend any time mastering this, but you can see what I mean.
I also, by the way, I also sorry for disrupting every time. I also sent a form that you can fill instead of sending the Discord handle and email. So you can just fill out the form that I just sent on the chat, and we'll make sure to add you to the beta testing team. Yeah, sorry.
Cool. All good. So you can see here that way you can kind of zoom in like where the sound is happening. You can make sure it all lines up. And we got a question earlier, if you remember, about what can I do with my old assets. So that's one cool thing I really want to show here too, which is let's say you have a block and you don't know how to fill it. You can take your old assets. If you remember all the stuff we generated from before, you have this media library now. And so you have both your storyboard assets. And this might take a second, but it's going to pull from our like exploratory and like motion design phase from the very beginning of the call and from the webinar. And it'll pull in your assets here. And so you can select a clip and drop something in, which it's one step towards we want to make this kind of universal media library. So we have this you can pull in any shot from your storyboard this way and kind of line them up where you want them to transition. But you also can be building that repository. So if you remember going back, we generated a lot of content today, so it'll be fairly far back. But anything you've generated, we have those motion clips or images that you can pull in. So that way, if I go back to the explore page, let's do that real quick. If I go back to here and create something like I don't know, add motion. My story has no narrative anymore. I've just been completely making random stuff. But if I add this motion clip here, I can have these assets now that I can pull into the timeline for my project in the storyboard that I had. So yeah, while I'm loading that, Nivo, I've been keeping my eye on the Q&A. Have we been getting some questions on that?
We have been getting questions unrelated to the timeline. Maybe we can take them for a bit. So Edbear asked about clothing options. So you don't have to go back to the storyboard, by the way. I can also take that live here. For every shot or every scene that you have, you can just choose the clothing settings for each character and then change and adapt it. So you can do that over there, like changing the locations and lighting. It kind of is the same way. Twisted Light asked about getting cars and props consistency. I think in another webinar we did before, we showed how you can do an actor where you can add a character that is an object and then pull them out and summon them like you do with other characters that you have. So just go to the cast screen and then add another character and just describe an object instead of a human being. So you can do that.
Yeah, I can pull it up as an example, going back to our project. And I'm just popping out because I'm entering like kind of a little bit of a developer mode for the timeline because we haven't released it publicly. So And so I'm just sneaking around a little bit. But yeah, so I'll show that next, the thing around creating a character. But if you notice, remember I just created these movies in the motion design workspace. So I just made this one. I do actually really like the autoplay on hover. That's really helpful. But I created this one. Obviously, this makes no sense at all. But if I want to insert this into my story, you have that media library. So I know we talked about this before, but I think that adds a lot of power. So you can quickly explore concepts, and then you have now this media library both from your current storyboard, or going through all of the stuff you've made. It does sort by newest, and you kind of lose track on how much you create when you're making projects like this. So you can see like how much is down here. We really made a lot, so it will get if you want to quickly pop something back up, just edit it and it'll pop up to the back of your library. Maybe later it might be helpful for search. We haven't gotten that far, but you remember all these from the beginning when we were doing our exploratory concepts. So this is a way you can add any of those things in. And for the ones that do have motion already, you can see the little motion clip, the little play button. So that's how you can tell. But you can pull in even static. And then these are unsynced from our storyboard, but we'll be allowing users to link it to your storyboard. So it's like this is kind of your final editing point, and then you'll be able to link it to your storyboard to like really nail the final editing there.
We have a question from Laurie about using your own videos assets and integrating them in the project. I was kind of,
I have
sorry.
a note on that actually. That's it. So we get that a lot, and I think that's something we have our mind on for sure. But I want to point out something. So let's say that you did have something like a video asset. One thing I would do is because you can import an exact photo, but then you can't edit it. So one thing I would do is I would just do composition, import the image here, and that way you can still edit the. I was doing a shot of a kid putting on like who needed his dad's help putting on some clothes, getting ready in the morning, etc. Or this Wes Anderson thing or whatever. But like, I think we can do is take a shot from whatever. I don't want to actually use this because I just pulled something random, but put your image here and use that to then animate the what you are trying to use that to animate what you're trying to do instead of putting the exact photo, because you can use that to inspire your shot. That way you can still animate it. But right now you can't pull in a video exactly, but you can pull in the start frame from the video as the composition to inform the result. And that's how you can do it. I'll try to pull an example.
And if you are referring to a video asset that you already have and you want to integrate inside the project, then it is on our roadmap to add into the media library an option to upload your own assets from outside of LTX Studio and then use those assets. But Lori, I also added you to the beta testers channel on Discord, and would be an amazing feedback to also share there and make sure that our team and everyone is aware that it is a need that is coming from the community. So I am adding everyone, like literally, I'm adding as we speak, everyone into the channel on Discord. I'll also share the link here, which has all of the instructions for how to beta test the new tool, the new timeline. So look it up in the chat in a bit.
Yeah. And so we know that it's coming onto our roadmap. But as I mentioned, for now, actually, I'm going to do something. Let me crop some stuff out. You can, like I said, I'm doing a really simple one here, but you can upload any image, like a still from the movie that you have, and just use that to inspire the shot you're making. And that way, you can still then control it. So I did a really poor quick job just to illustrate it. But if I click apply, I'm going to enhance this. I just want to show you can take a still from that movie currently and use that to inspire your project. Later, you'll be able to upload those assets as Naveau said, but for now, this is probably your best like hack. And so I did again a really quick job, but you can either upload the image like this exactly and then animate it. You can use the motion editor and animate stuff that you upload, but then you can't really use the text and stuff to edit it in the same way further. So what I honestly do is I prefer to use it to inspire the shot like this. And you can still use tools and text to edit things. So I can still go in here and I can remove, this dinosaur. So that way I can still edit the shot. You can do that if you upload the image exactly, but you can't use the text in the same way. So here, for example, you can do that. So let's see. I'm trying to think if I should cover anything else, but those are two ways to currently pull in your assets from out of the project.
I have just sent the beta testers channel link. If I already gave you access, then it's called timeline feedback. This is the channel dedicated for beta testing. If the link doesn't work, and if you don't have access, that's because I didn't have time, but I did I did wrote down all of everyone's names here, and I will give everyone's access to it and also to the feature. We do have a couple of questions. Abdallah is asking about the difference between all of the depth types. Corbett, do
Sure.
you remember if that was in the composition? Was that 2 webinars ago?
It was also a really quick example though. So
But
let's
I
do.
did kind of also separated between the different ones. So I kind of mentioned them each each option, like what does it do? Just because we also have so maybe Abdallah, you should go and check out the other tips and
Yeah.
tricks sessions. And Tommy is asking to play the preview. Tommy, are you talking about the timeline preview or the entire preview of the project? Because we have a preview on the top right
You can do
side,
the scene here.
and
Um,
you have that. Yeah.
you can do the scene there, or you can do the preview up here for the whole thing. This is again the whole project. I'll be honest, this isn't like narratively. If you want to see that, I would go to the dinosaur, the other dinosaur one we put on YouTube because I actually tried to make a narrative with that one. This one I was kind of just showing off features. But you can preview a single scene this way by clicking this button, or you can preview the whole project by this way. And then the timeline, as we talked about, you can preview the whole project that way with more like a fine-tooth comb if you want to make those edits throughout the project. Yeah.
Cool. Abdallah is also asking if he can use a character from the cast in the output generated after uploading an image. I think you are trying to ask if I'm uploading an image to composition, and then you can, inside composition, hashtag a character in the prompt section and add it to the image that you used as a reference. So
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Actually, let me go back before I erase that one. Maybe that is what we're talking about here because it's funny, grab my little Zoom thing here too. But this character, that's not Alex, even though it looks kind of close. But you can notice I tagged Alex Thompson here. I've really not been spending that much time to get the exact right, result on here. But yes, you can pull in characters even with a composition like this. Yeah. So I was playing around with a few things. I want to be conscious of the time since we are a little over the hour. But if anyone has any last questions on like timeline editor, let us know. For the composition tool, what I would say is, yeah, I think it was the last. You can search composition tool for LTX Studio on YouTube, and it was one of the last two webinars we did a deeper dive on that. And we showed how you can use these different settings to pull out the right things from those. And then I think this one we wanted to focus mostly on actors and timelines since those ones weren't covered before. But yeah, so what I can say is this: the timeline it's brand new, just released, or sorry, brand new, just releasing now. But as Noah said, we do want everyone's help with the beta testing of it. So we'd love for you all to be a part of that. And we need feedback. It's a minimum viable product we just put out there, but there's lots of stuff we want to improve. So give it a spin. Let us know what's working, what's not, and then we'll keep going from there. But hopefully, for the folks that have been tracking along, you can see like how much we've been putting out with LTX Studio. So
Okay. And apparently, I haven't sent anything in the public chat. So I'm sending again. This is the form to fill to get the access to beta testing timeline. This is the link to the beta testers channel. I think everyone can see it now. And I'm not gonna close this webinar before you guys get a chance to click on it and make sure that you have all of the links. And Corbett, sorry for that. You can, if you have another wrap up
Oh, sure. No,
to
there's
do, you can go back into it.
well, there's plenty more. I just I want to be conscious of time, but if we want to give people some time to um poke around in the forum, then I will share my screen again and spend a bit more time on the composition tool. That's actually good. I just realized, yeah, we were probably posting to the hosts and panelists, right? So let
Yeah, I
me
have. Sorry.
one more thing. So since we have like a little bit more time, let's say talking about what you can use a composition tool for and what those different settings are. So let's just say again we are I'm making a new scene. So I have a new setting here, and I want to have, let's say, our character like sitting on a chair in a certain way. And so if we say like Alex Thompson is sitting on a chair, you can use text again to get your you can use text to get a result, but it won't be exactly what you want. You know, it'll just it's text is a pretty decent way of getting a result. Like that's close. But if you had something really specific in mind, again, I'm using Unsplash because it's royalty free, but I could say like person sitting on a throne, and maybe you want like a specific posture. I'll say person on throne. Maybe I want him crossing his legs like this, for example. So what I'll do is you can pull in any reference image, and I could do composition here, pull in an image, and the settings up here determine what we're pulling in. So if I say, you know, Alex Thompson's sitting on a chair, the pose part will just pull in the character. So you can see here in the lines, the white lines, notice the dots were just pulling in the reference pose of the character. And so you can also adjust this with the image strength to make it stronger, but it's not pulling in everything. Like you notice the grass isn't there, the intricacies of the chair isn't there. It's really just it's the character. And let's see, one second. And I would still use a mixture of the description here plus the image here. But another thing you can do is you can pull in other things. So for example, the depth. So let's say, let me grab something else. So it's kind of like the depth of a shot here. So I'll pull in another image. And by the way, you can actually pull in multiple images. So you can kind of ladder them almost like a storyboard. So you can ladder them on top of each other. And you can still use these masking tools. So I can use the tools to remove and add things. You know, I can remove and add things here, for example. But basically, uh, if you do something like the lines, it'll pull in more almost exactly all the lines of an image, including the background and things. At the museum. Second. So you can use the different settings to pull in different things. Honestly, what I do most of the time is just use depth as some balance between all of the above. But if you play around with those settings, you can use it to only pull in like the pose of a character, ignoring everything else. The results here I'm getting a little weird, probably because the photo itself is a little strange, honestly. It's not exactly one-to-one, but you can use that to kind of drive the output result that you're getting. I kind of like these. Maybe I'll use that one instead. Let's do one more example. like here's a good example of a weird sitting pattern. So I'll use this as the pose because that's probably a better fit. So this is a more like distinct one. Let me go back to this. I'm going to delete this example. And then I'm going to pull in this one and just pull in the pose. Um, so here's a good example. Let me pull these side by side. So here we're just pulling in like the pose of a character, and you can have them sitting in a certain way, but if you do depth, it'll get all the lines of an image. So like where the chair is, in the room, etc., all those things. The lines part is used for when you really want to pull in like every piece of the image, like including if there is surrounding architecture, for example, the lines would pull in everything. But I honestly use depth most of the time unless I'm really trying to isolate the pose of someone. But pretty decent example there. Again, all this stuff I'm trying to zoom through pretty quickly, but there is definitely a craftsmanship that comes from playing with the AI tools here. Often what I do is when I'm making something, I'll spend, a few minutes getting the overall thing, but I'll honestly spend like an hour and a half getting all the little details perfect when I'm really trying to make a final project. And so here we're trying to zoom through all the different things to show how you do it, but we're not showing the start to finish. If you do want to see something more start to finish, check out the Dino project on YouTube, the retro one that we posted a few times ago. Cool. Well, with that, we again don't want to keep this going too long. Thanks everyone for your patience. It was good to get a great amount of people here to check it out. And we will be posting this online once the timeline feature goes live. But for now, it's just a sneak peek for you all. And then hopefully you got the invite to the beta testing so you can try it out. I honestly think for me, timeline is the thing that made it so that I can ship final work that I'm proud of, because I can match up the sound, the narration, and the video. And without that, I had to mess around with like 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or 7-second clip lengths. And here you can kind of truncate it perfectly. So that combined with the image playground that you can pull from, I honestly think it makes the whole experience like twice as good when you're trying to make a final project. And lastly, it looks like David, if you had a question,
I think he had a question about Spanish support. So our website is only in English, is available only in English, but it does support like Spanish speaking. So if you type in something in Spanish, it will support the voice that will be generated. This was the question that you had. We only accept typed questions, so we don't have the option to let you speak. So if you have an additional quick question, you can type it in very fast now. But overall, I really agree with you, Corbett. I think timeline is a game changer. We do have plenty more surprises coming up really, really soon. So I think you all should really follow our announcements on Discord and check out new things that we'll soon publish. And we'll do another tips and tricks session with Corbett next month. And next week, we will also add another webinar that will kind of break down the process of creating an advertisement. So look out for a new event that we'll post on our Discord. Check it out and join us to then as well.
Yeah. We really love the engagement from everyone. Naveau, thanks for answering all the questions in the chat as they came through. We try to make the ones public that were applicable to everyone while we answered individual ones. But yeah, it's great having everyone here. Thank you for the time and attention. We'll put this live after timeline goes live. But as Naveau said, keep an eye out on Discord. There's lots of cool stuff coming still. So we'll see you at the next one.
Share your feedback for timeline. We really use it and take lots of insights from it and fix and advance from your feedback. So use the channel that I shared once we give you the permission to use timeline, which is going to be probably in the next few hours. And see you on Discord.
See you, everyone. Thank you.